Good evening. Welcome to the Howell Township Council meeting. To call this meeting to order and read the statement.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided in the manner prescribed by law. This agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken. Begin with a roll call. Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gazier?
Here.
Councilman Nadell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Present.
And Mayor Berger is absent.
Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Should we wait until after?
Of course.
Yes. After executive.
My understanding is we have an executive session. May we have the reasons on the record, please?
That's correct, Mayor. We have several matters to discuss involving litigation, personnel. We have a contract to discuss and attorney-client.
Thank you. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 23-406.
Second, please.
Second. Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gazier?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank
We
you.
stand in executive session.
Okay.
Good evening. I'd like to reconvene the regularly scheduled meeting of the Howell Township Council. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gazier?
Here.
Councilman Nadell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
And Mayor Berger is absent this evening.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of
She
Allegiance.
may be late.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask that you remain standing for a moment of prayer. We pray for peace in this world. We pray for peace in our community, for everyone's health and well-being, for a nice holiday season, and a better new year. Thank you. Our first order of business is we have a proclamation, actually two proclamations. Would council please join us at the down below? This evening, we're very happy that we can honor our DPW department. We have a proclamation for Director Paul Novello and one also for Stephen for various things that have happened in our community, passive things, the archery, making our trails nicer for our community. And the state of New Jersey has honored our DPW from the different members of the state of New Jersey and their DPWs, so we're extremely proud. Stephen, would you like to come up?
I'm going to read the proclamation honoring Stephen Rosenzweig. Whereas Stephen Rosenzweig has been employed by Howell Township Department of Public Works as a custodian since 2002, and is whereas Steve always takes great pride in his work and displays a cheerful and helpful attitude, and whereas always willing to go above and beyond, there have been countless times when a problem arises after hours and Steve's assistance has saved the day. And whereas Steve has been selected as the winner of the New Jersey chapter of the American Public Works Association Employee Award for 2023. And whereas Steve's dedication to his job his pleasant and positive demeanor are recognized and greatly appreciated by his supervisors and co-workers. Therefore, the governing body of Howell Township hereby honors Stephen Rosenzweig for winning the 2023 New Jersey APWA Employee Award and recognize his hard work and dedication to Howell Township.
luncheon last week honoring Stephen and our DPW department. So our guest of honors certainly did us proud. Stephen?
When I first started working for Howell Township, it was George Gavette and Helene Schlegel that welcomed me to the township, and their exact words were, "Welcome to the family." It's been an honor and privilege to serve Howell Township and consider them as family. I commend the council for all the hard work that they had done throughout the years, and I as an employee, can recognize that they are working their goals, and their community and family are just as important, and they look forward to not just serving the community, but they do care about their employees, and I thank them.
Thank you. Why don't you stay with us for a moment, please?
So Howell Township actually received 2 awards from the state, which is, it was exceptional. We actually stood out. We were definitely the largest group. The second award is the New Jersey chapter of the American Public Works Association Project of the Year Award that went to Howell Township for Passive Outdoor Recreation Project. With this award, we'd like to honor Paul Novello, who is the director of our Public Works, who is regrettably retiring next month. So we're going to ask Steve to accept this award on their behalf. So whereas Paul Novello has served as director of the Howell Township Department of Public Works since 2017, and whereas Paul is being recognized today for his extensive work in winning and really spearheading the Public Works Project of the Year, awarded by the New Jersey chapter of the American Public Works Association. And is whereas the project, entitled Howell Township Passive Outdoor Recreation Project, promotes passive outdoor recreation, such as hiking, biking, kayaking, fishing, and archery, encouraging residents to get out and enjoy over 2,000 acres of preserved open space. Whereas some highlights of the project include 12 signs fabricated and installed by DPW, identifying and describing the specific tracts of open space and featuring QR codes for additional information. DPW installed 3 trail cameras that download wildlife photos to the township website. DPW collaborated with a local organization to reconstruct an outdoor archery range that had been unused and neglected for over a decade. The road division constructed over 1.5 miles of biking and hiking trails. The trails will eventually become part of the state's Capital to Coast Trail initiative. The DPW cleared and constructed an access area to make Lake Louise more accessible. DPW contracted to have 2 ADA-compliant kayak launches installed, one at Sparrow Lake and the other one at Echo Lake. Howell Township held an outdoor expo to promote these activities that can now be enjoyed on the township's open space. Whereas the use of these improvements was immediate and the benefits are far-reaching, vandalism has diminished or disappeared in some of the project areas due to increased use. Whereas Howell Township's Passive Outdoor Recreation Project has been a great success due to the hard work of multiple divisions of the Department of Public Works, and particularly to the director, Paul Novello. Now, therefore, the governing body of Howell Township does hereby honor Paul Novello for his work on the Passive Outdoor Recreation Project and winning the 2023 NJAPWA Public Works Project of the Year Award. Steve, you're going to accept this, correct?
I'll accept it and put it on his desk.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, we couldn't be proud of our DPW. There's never a time that if we haven't come up with an idea that they're not coming up with an idea, or administration, and they follow through with this. And everyone that lives in Howell Township has the benefit of all of the passive recreation and other things that DPW has done. As Paul leaves us, we know we're in good hands with Brian Greenfield, and we look forward to another prosperous year with all of the activities. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Again, a hearty thank you to all those that were involved in participating through the time period that these projects were finished. And I can assure you that I hear very positive things from the town residents concerning these. So again, thank you. This will bring us up to accepting the minutes of October 24th, 2023, executive and regular. Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept minutes.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Abstain?
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go on to reports from our department officials. And Mr. Clark, however you would like to have the reports given.
I get the same way.
Okay.
We're having the computer taken ideas updated right now. So we're
Wanna
getting
come back to
tape
it?
of the meeting, but we are having difficulty with our YouTube stream. So he said it'll be about 10 minutes. We may want to take a recess.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're having some difficulty with our streaming abilities from IT, so they've asked for us to give them 10 minutes so that they can rectify the problem, so those people at home can enjoy the meeting as well. So if you'd bear with us for a short time, we would appreciate it.
So if we just, a quick motion to recess.
Motion to go into recess.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so probably about 10 minutes or so.
All right, I'd like to reconvene the meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Here. Councilman Gager?
Here.
Councilman Nadell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
Mayor Berger is absent at the moment.
Thank you. And moving on to reports of the township officials. Do we have any reports?
So very quickly, I want to remind everybody, first, we're having our gingerbread house contest, so people can come to Town Hall, take a look at them, and cast their vote for their favorite. The Deck the Howells holiday decorating contest runs December 8th through December 17th. You can get the score sheet online. There's a QR code that you can scan and enter your favorites. Our tree lighting will be this coming Sunday, December 17th from 4:30 to 7. The holiday market will be held prior to that. I also want to recognize not only Steve Rosenzweig's efforts this past week, but those of Allison G., Stephen Fetcher. I'll acknowledge Mayor Berger had reached out to me, Councilman Nadell, Councilwoman Fisher, Councilman Gager, Deputy Mayor, everybody, to make sure that because the date of the market fell after Hanukkah, that we had a proper ceremony for that. So, you know, as soon as we moved it, Stephen was able to reach out and get a ceremony in place. So I think we're going to make that part of our tradition to have it at the beginning of Hanukkah every year. It seemed to work out well, and I'm glad that we were able to do it. So that's basically it.
Thank you. Nothing? Anything else?
Just a quick update. Howell Township is now the proud owner of the Cornerstone property. We closed last week. We're in the process of recording instruments. The next steps are we are going to be trying to seek some sort of reimbursement from both Green Acres and and Monmouth County, yes. So that process of reimbursement is going to take quite some time. They're going to need a lot of documents and proofs, but it is in the works.
And that sounds like an excellent plan. Thank you. All right, I'd like to open the hearing of the citizens for public comments.
Each
Diane?
person shall give their name and address to the clerk. The council should be addressed as a collective body and not as individual members. Each person shall have one turn to address the council, and comments shall not exceed a total of 5 minutes. Speakers shall be notified when their time has run, and no time extension shall be permitted.
Okay, our first speaker that's listed is Joanne, is it Dizio? Please come forward. If you would share your address with us, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, that's 10 Station Place.
All right.
Use the microphone. Oh, I'm sorry. 10 Station Place. My
I basically have questions regarding the resource engineering project. And I read that at tonight's meeting, particulars would be divulged to us as to exactly what the operation is going to consist of and other details on the project. So I want to know if we'll have a chance to comment or ask questions after that presentation is made.
Yes, and actually, we're not discussing it this evening. There's been other specifics and information that the manager was gathering.
Yeah, so we
Mr.
are
Clark?
still working to finalize. So as you may or may not know, Resource Engineering originally had applied for an amendment to the county's waste management plan. They wound up in litigation with the county over it. We intervened in that lawsuit, and they are working with us on a settlement. The settlement's not complete yet, so there's not going to be any discussion of it tonight.
Okay.
We anticipate having something probably for the second meeting in January, but we will make sure that everybody is noticed about it. If we're able to settle the litigation with them, we anticipate having them here with it to give a presentation on it. And yeah, we would expect people to be able to ask questions and to get a full sort of explanation of exactly what it's going to mean in terms of, operations, processing, benefits to the community, stuff like that. So.
Thank you.
Okay, would anybody be able to have any input pre-settlement? Like anything?
You can send in something, but typically we don't work on settlements. We don't include citizens on the settlement team because it's a privileged communication amongst ourselves and the attorneys, so.
Okay, so is the settlement in approval, or I'm misunderstanding it? Like, I don't...
The settlement, to the extent, it's not finalized yet. There are still terms and conditions that are being negotiated. So no, it's not up for approval. It will be up for approval, assuming we're able to reach, an agreement about everything. And I would think that would be in January.
Okay.
But it's not finalized yet. We don't
Again,
have full agreement on all conditions.
That would be after a presentation and questions from the public, questions and answers.
Okay, perfect. So then I'll keep my eye out for that. I had just read in the Howell Times that
Yes.
that was, but I guess things changed. So, all right.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. The next, Mrs. Dixell?
Mayor, I would like to reserve my comment for one of the ordinances.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, we have Ms. Joan Osborne. Good evening, Joan. If you just share your address publicly.
28 Baronius Street, Howell, New Jersey.
Thank you.
I wanted to address the farmers market, which Mr. Clark already had mentioned, that it's going to be this Sunday, and thank the executives in the town and the council for adopting the change of the date, given the weather forecast, and we had changed it kind of early, and there was a little bit of an outcry about that, wait and see what's going to happen, but as it turned out, it was the right decision because Sunday was terrible weather. We expect really good weather this Sunday, so we hope everyone comes out for the market portion as well as the tree lighting. And I also just wanted to, again, I wish Paul Novello was here. I didn't know he was getting an award tonight, but I do understand he's retiring in January. I'm surprised not to see him here because in the past 4 years in my work with the Environmental Commission, with Shade Tree, with the Farmers Market, with a project that we did for the organic garden, he's everywhere. He's everywhere, and he's always helpful.
If I may, Joan, he's at a dinner tonight.
Okay.
And he had another commitment, otherwise he would have been here.
Right, so, yeah.
He was sad that he couldn't make it, believe me.
Yeah, and I'm sad that he's leaving us, and I wish that, that wasn't the case. If there's anything you can do to get him to stay, because he's been tremendously helpful to us, but
But
I
if
just
you
wanted
reached
to
out to him
recognize
with those sentiments, I'm sure he'd certainly appreciate it. I know
thank
he's
you.
worked closely with you in the past, so.
Yes, so we will miss him.
Thank you.
Joan, I want to
you.
thank you for all the work you do for the farmers market.
Oh, thank you.
Going there and witnessing it, it's a lot.
It is,
It's
but,
appreciated.
you know, we enjoy doing it.
Is there anyone else from the public that,
Mayor, can I just say one thing? It's nothing to do. Let me just get up.
I-
Do you want to come up, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's all right. I'm going to go to.
You want to sit over?
Nope. I'm gonna stand up. How do you like that? I did.
All right, okay.
Keep trying.
take your time, Mrs. Dixell.
I may be 84, but I'll keep trying, Okay. I'm not ready to throw in the towel yet. Okay. I'm addressing the council, I'm also addressing the manager. Thank you for the Hanukkah lighting. I'm glad when I called in the morning, they got it together real fast. But I did call the township the day after. I want to tell you, for next year, it's going to be very different. Christmas Day
Yes.
is also the same day as the first light of Hanukkah. So you can do Christmas Day by all means for our Christian neighbors. Hanukkah can be the 26th. It's also Kwanzaa, so you can have one big celebration. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. On the
Sounds like a plan.
On the 26th.
Administration already has everything cooking.
That's
Yep.
Dixell, because I looked it up on the calendar the next day.
And what I'm going to do, I have your recipe for cranberry salad, so I'm going to make a giant bucket of it for everybody.
I'm marking it down right now.
It's good.
Thank you.
Two sun-kissed label oranges with the skin, 2 apples with the skin. Put it in the food processor, grind it up, grind up a bag of berries, put some sugar and some raisins in it, and go.
Thank you,
I
Mrs.
agree.
Dixell. Anyone else would like to address? Any other concerns? Please feel free, come right on up. Just ask for your name and address.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Hey, Ben Nova, 58 East Yellowstone Lane in Howell. I just want to wish everybody Happy New Year, Christmas, Hanukkah, the whole bit. I know you guys got a tough job to do, but you guys better get your stuff together for 2024. I mean, I'm really dismayed tonight. All these people come out in the cold and sit here on their rear end, and you're worried about a video for people sitting home in a nice warm house on their couch, waiting for you guys to deliberate. It's not right. You better change things for the common year and take care of the people that do come out to these meetings. And I think you're going to have to do something with this mayor on important issues and a lot of meetings. She's not showing up for whatever reason. It could be valid, that's fine. But over the years that we've been living here, we've had mayors come out here all the time, never miss a meeting, all right? So I wish you'd take that into account in this common year, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Novick. Sir?
Good evening, Mark Parisi, 2 Castle Court. I don't have any recipes, but that one sounds really good. I actually think that it's pretty cool that you guys live stream the council meeting to the public at home. And actually, I would encourage you to even go even further and live stream the planning board and zoning board meetings as well if you had the opportunity, since the technology exists in the room. That's something maybe you guys could explore in the future. I wanted to talk about 2 things. The resolution for the Altice settlement that talked about $11 million and also offering free broadband for 3 years to one commercial business. I was just hoping maybe the administration could just expand on how much of that $11 million might be coming to Howell for some infrastructure upgrades, because I know people often talk about, how, Verizon's the best, Optimum's the worst, or vice versa, or whatever it is. There's always complaints about service. So it's nice to see that there's possibly some money coming to the town. How much, and which is the commercial business that's going to get the 1 gigabyte of broadband free for 3 years? Or is there like an application process for that, or have you guys decided? The other thing was that I know that BRIC has a citizens advisory committee. I shared it on social media about they put together a citizens advisory committee that works with the township officials on identifying pieces of property to preserve with open space funds. And I know that, with January coming up, when you guys make your appointments to the various committees and boards, that maybe you guys would talk with the administration about maybe putting together a committee like that Brick has, and, and having that, the residents be a part of, the process of identifying some parcels and, making recommendations to council. Then you guys could decide, what would be a good, property to try to acquire, what wouldn't, the reasons why, and let the public be kind of, part of that process.
Thank you. Anything else?
Those are my comments. Thank you. Yep.
I will take the liberty to say that the Farmers Preservation Committee works very closely with Matt Howard and the county for exactly that reason, finding parcels to preserve and then going through the process when it's appropriate to obtain properties. And I think I've even said it is a long process, however, that doesn't deter us. So the Farmers Preservation Committee, in fact, has been doing that for quite some time. Difficult sometimes to find property owners that would like to preserve their property instead of selling it. Of course, it's a very personal thing for most farmers, but I can assure you that that process is occurring. Mr. Clark, could you address the Altice situation?
So I'll have Ms. Harney address that. In terms of the Citizens Advisory Committee, we will look to implement something like that. We'll have to discuss it amongst ourselves and, see what we can do. Obviously, it's a big town. There's a lot to do, and it always helps. Many hands make light work. So, that's something that we can think about in the new year. Mr. Novick, I apologize that we had a technical issue with one of the computers that controls our streaming. It decided to pick our meeting as the time when it was going to update. So if you've ever been there and you turn on a computer and you have to sit through that sort of interminable period, that's exactly what happened. So going forward, we will make sure that the computers are checked and rechecked and update, in the morning of the meetings. So.
Anyone else from the public that'd like to come up to speak?
Well, I'm going to comment
I'm
on
sorry.
the Altice settlement.
Thank
So
you.
just so everybody's aware, what's going on with that, it was a litigation between Altice and actually the NJBPU. We acted along with several other municipalities as an intervener into the litigation. We were granted special status to kind of come in and make demands. So us together with a handful of other municipalities, I believe Robbinsville was in there, Middletown might have been, we were able to sit in on the negotiations to allow certain provisions in the settlement and the resolution to benefit our own municipality. As to Mr. Parisi's question about the amount going to the town, I don't have that information off the top of my head, but I will go and look for you. I have your contact information, so I'll be able to contact you about that, as well as the specific business getting that extra gigabyte. So hopefully we can provide you that answer.
Thank you, Caitlin. Was there anyone else from the public that wanted to come up and speak?
I just want to add something about the internet, in case you don't understand. I taught advanced electronics communication for years. One of my former students is the lead Verizon engineer for 5G. And if you don't know it already, wired internet and wired TV is going. Everything's going to be wireless, and it's all going to be through 5G. You see it a little bit now with Verizon and T-Mobile, where you can get a box in your house that will bring the signal in wirelessly and transmit it throughout your house. As the signals get stronger and more towers go up, there won't be any more Fios, there won't be any more hardwired internet. So when I hear people say to me, why can't we get Fios in our neighborhood, the question's going to be is because Verizon is looking to go wireless. So that's where we're at too. One other thing about the open space. One of the things that I learned in dealing with Matt and Joe about open space, and we look at properties and we have people come to us and say, why can't this be open space? Why can't this be open space? I didn't realize how severe the penalty was when we take a property out of open space. because something happened, like it was an emergency, and we needed that plot of land. Now we have to replace it. What's the ratio approximately?
Depending on the type of diversion you're doing, so you're talking about recreational open space that's encumbered by Green Acres, it could be anywhere from 2 to 3 to 1 or upwards of 27, 40 to 1.
Yeah. So if we take an acre out of open space because we needed it for something very important, we're going to have to replace it with pretty good-sized parcel.
Sure, and so to key off that too, I'll give a quick explanation of the diversion process. So basically, you apply to DEP. We're taking this land off of our Rossi, and we will put this land on our Rossi. They review it and they say, well, that's not enough land that you're putting back on. We want more land. And we say, well, what's that based on? Well, we want more land. And so you work with them. And then it goes to the State House Commission, which is a meeting in Trenton that happens so infrequently, it's almost a remarkable event. And what is even more remarkable is if the State House Committee approves your diversion. So it is almost impossible to get a diversion approved. It doesn't typically happen, so it's very difficult. Once you have something on the Rossi, it is very difficult to get something off. And if you willfully use that land, and you do something with it that's inconsistent with the purposes of Green Acres, then you're going to get hammered. And that's when you start talking about anywhere from 20, 30, 40 to 1. So you use an acre of land willfully and improperly, you better find 40 acres to put in really quick. So that's why we might seem like we move at a snail's pace, but there's a reason for it. We're very, very careful about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know we've discussed this because we actually have township land that we own that people would love to see go into that, but we're holding it just for that.
Well, and on that note too, each case is a little different. So obviously the referendum passed in November. We're excited to have some additional funds at our disposal so we can aggressively market, purchases. But, each one's a little different. We could go and buy acres upon acres of woods and wetlands right now, but they're self-preserved because usually the wetlands will do that. There's some farm pieces that are already preserved, but up for sale, we could purchase them. But again, they're preserved. So we're trying to strike the balance between obviously not taking too much properties off of future tax rolls. I mean, there's a purpose to them there, but also limiting development in the right areas. So if there's a property ripe for the taking that could maybe house 4 or 5 houses, maybe 6, 7 or more, we want to take a look at that and see if we can maybe grab it. With that said, that land has extra value because it has development potential. So that extra cent on the referendum that we were able to get is going to be pivotal in us being, in the market for those properties because you are buying development rights away. And those parcels are a lot more expensive. But that's your bang for your buck. If you want to limit development, those are the parcels we need to target, and we think we're in a better position to do so.
Yeah, and I will say thank you to the voters for having the vision to approve the referendum. I mean, it is going to be a huge help for us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
It's an excellent explanation. I'm sorry, was there anyone else from the public that wanted to speak? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close public, please?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we will move along to the resolutions. So that begins with R23-369. May I have a motion for that up to and including anything that pleases the council?
Okay, so we're going to go up to R23-400.
Motion to approve R23-369 up to and including R23-400.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent resolutions pass.
I would like to go back for a moment and take reports from the elected officials. Anyone have something that they would like to report this evening?
No.
Councilman Nadell, anything?
Not this time.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Just what, we started the meeting with the proclamation acknowledging the 2 awards for our DPW. Deputy Mayor O'Donnell and I were lucky enough to attend the luncheon, and just so people realize, it was a state award. It wasn't a county, it was for the whole state of New Jersey. And the fact that Howell Township got picked for 2 awards, there was no other township that had that. So, and to kind of piggyback on what Joan said, to acknowledge Paul Novello, and he definitely would have been here tonight, but he had another engagement. He did a great job. He's the kind of guy, when you first meet him, you feel like you've known him your whole life. That's the effect he had on me. I like that cousin or neighbor that you've known forever, and just did great work. Great guy, great personality. I met Brian once, but I haven't gotten to know him yet, and if he was trained by Paul, I'm sure he's going to do a great job as well. But just to acknowledge Paul and Steve, we got to meet Steve and then have lunch with him, just a great guy, great employee for the township. So, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And just to expand on that, thank you very much to Paul, but I also want to point out, the projects were something that were done, and I know that the entire council was in favor of all of them. It does highlight some of the use of our open space. I don't know if anybody's taken time to visit the Howell Township webpage to take a look at some of the wildlife cams, but it's pretty fun to see what's going on out there. And some of the parks, and we're just getting started. I mean, again, to go back to what I was saying, the referendum did pass. We have a lot of plans. There's going to be a lot coming up in the new year, so there's even more to be had.
Absolutely. We look forward to Brian Greenfield coming in, and we're all very sure that he's going to slide into that position as he's already been there. He knows some of the projects that are in the works for next year. So rest assured there's more wonderful things to come for Howell Township. I would like to take the opportunity right now to wish my father his 101st birthday on Thursday. We're very lucky that he's still with us. He has 6 children. I'm the youngest of the 6. All of us are still here to enjoy him. So although he's in Virginia, I have someone taping this to send it to him. I promised him I would get his name out there around the township that he lived in for 50 years. Secondly, I would like to make note, thank you. Thank you, we're very proud of him. I also would like to make note that in 2012, Roscoe Cavaluzzo retired from the Howell Township Police Department. Chief Storrow has advised us that in November he had a critical accident. We want to wish he and his family the best wishes. We wish him a very speedy recovery. After he had retired, he became the chief security officer for our court. So we certainly hope that things will move along well for him and that he will be back to work. So did want to make note of this. I am told that it was an incredibly serious accident. So we wish him the very best and God bless. And also, I had gone to both budget hearings in town when we had them, I guess it was about a week ago. They were preliminary hearings, and I was very happy to go because a couple of things had come to light for me. And something that had been brought up was some concern about our COs for rentals and inspections on an annual basis that may rotate with the dates of the CO. But as this is being talked about, there wasn't a question and answer, from the audience during the budget hearings as they were preliminary, but I would like to speak to it now so that council is aware and thinking about it, that this looks like a massive amount of work to incorporate into the department. So I didn't know if there was thoughts of an employee to do this, or are we looking at additional monies into that budget to accomplish this? Because this is something that I know council's been very eager to get it put together and make sure that it's being done. COs, most importantly, are a safety mechanism for those people that live within that home. So Mr. Howard, could you share any thoughts with us tonight, or is this too early in the game?
No, if there's one thing that council's put me on, it's to get our rentals under control. It's been a slow, gradual process, but I think we're making headway. I mean, code enforcement, I've reported in the past some of the numbers were 3-4 times ahead of the pace of what we've done in enforcement in the past, mostly on the housing and rental side because things get so out of control. And then you get them under control, and then you leave for a day and they get out of control again. So we've been kicking around some ideas to try and figure out how to really keep things under control. One of the ideas is to, instead of having, what we have right now is a registration requirement every year for rentals. It's happening now. It's really between November and February. Every rental has to register. It's an administrative requirement, but we know who the landlords are, we know who the tenants are, and we get that registration processed. The second thing for rental is the CO. That is at the time of new tenants or change of ownership. So sometimes we don't get into rentals for 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years. As long as the same tenant is there, we'll never go back in. So there could be deteriorating conditions. More often than not these days, there's changes of tenancy without notice. One idea that we're kicking around is doing an annual inspection on the CO as well. That would allow us to go into the properties to do a CO inspection every year instead of having long gaps. We would be able to double check the tenancy status at that time, make sure there's no over occupancy, and unfortunately it's been happening a lot, but make sure there's no illegal construction. A lot of times we issue the CO and a week later we have a complaint that heavy duty lumber is being moved in and rooms are being added and rooms are being sectioned off. So if we do an inspection every year, yes, somebody could take apart the construction and put it back. Realistically, we're going to catch it. Realistically, we're going to have a presence that is going to be a lot harder to do some of these, massive illegal operations that are happening. To do that is another 1,200 rentals, so 1,200 inspections with re-inspections, compliance, administrative requirements. We're looking at easily 2 inspectors, and I can't necessarily say that I wouldn't need more administrative help either. So there is definitely a budget hit there. We're also looking at residential resale COs. That is something that has been gone from the township since I've been here, I think over a decade. I think the times have changed, and with quick sales, cash sales, things happening quicker than anybody could keep up on. Again, there's a benefit to the residents, to the neighborhood, if there could be inspections done at that time. Again, checking for illegal work or just work done without permits, basements being finished, decks being built, things that may not be safe that need to be inspected. And again, it's another opportunity for us to get a baseline as to the condition of a property and see how that changes over time. We think those 2 initiatives could really kind of get really good control over some of the issues we're having. So those are both been brought up with administration, and we're talking about the cost impacts and the impacts to the taxpayer on those.
Right. So, and that's, Matt just keyed on an important point. So we've been talking about a lot of that over this past year, and it's great. We realize we're going to need extra staff, we're going to need extra people. We have these unfunded mandates that have been sort of put down on our plate by the state, which includes the lead paint inspections. We also have the landlord insurance inspections. They're required by state law to have insurance. But what we're supposed to be doing is collecting the declaration page on the policy. Early on, when this passed in 2022, we took a look at it and we said, we have so many rentals that we're going to need to hire an extra person, more or less, to process that. Why should all of the citizens pay for that? The landlord should be responsible for taking care of these requirements that apply to the rentals that they're making so much money off of. So we're working on a suite of ordinances for introduction in January that includes some of the CO materials that Matt was talking about. It'll also include the landlord insurance requirement, so that way we can attach a cost to it that's borne as part of the rental itself. The residential resale CO is very important because you'd have to be deaf to not have heard all year the concerns about the tenancies in town. So it gives us a snapshot at a moment in time at the transfer of that property, what's going on inside of it. And then a rental CO, assuming it turns into a rental, gives us a yearly snapshot of what is going on in there, and it gives us a lot more control over it. So, and which is an important thing. So that's basically where we are with it. There is going to be a cost attached to it. We're working out the fee structure so that it's not, an overloaded cost for landlords, but a fair cost that allows them to pay their share of it while not burdening the taxpayers and allowing us to properly staff for it.
Thank you. And I do appreciate the proactive thought of attaching that cost to the landlord. Taxpayers, we go to taxpayers, myself, all of us included, for everything that has to be done. But when someone is a landlord, that should be part of the responsibility of a landlord, within his purview of what he's doing. So as soon as you have your ducks in a row, if you will, I guess that will be coming through in the next budget. And in the interim, whatever you can get in. I know that it's really difficult to do every CO in January. It would be ridiculous. You would need somebody, 2 or 3 people, just doing that in January. So doing it on the anniversary, it makes perfect sense, and it also allows somebody to do the job effectively. So,
and it may seem like we go at a snail's pace at times, but the entire building is extremely hardworking. The building department, my department, code enforcement, extremely hardworking, and we had 2 seats added in the budget, one for an admin, one for an inspector. I just got my last inspector seat filled less than a month ago, and we're in training. So we're fully staffed for the first time, but we're still in trainings, and there's a lot of new faces there. So we're almost there. But all of these unfunded mandates that have come out, like the lead-based paint, the abandoned property registry, they're good for the town, and they definitely serve a purpose. But we don't want to rush into them. We don't want to start a program that we can't properly function with and that we can't properly perform. So we are being a little cautious in our timing. What will come out of these inspections will be a lot more permits that people need to write their work. So we want to make sure that we're fully staffed in the building department. There's a lot of ripple effects, and we're cautious about going too much too fast. So that's why it might seem like it takes a little while, but we think that's necessary.
And council appreciates the fact that you're approaching this in a reasonable fashion, and more so approaching it so that I know you've heard a lot of comments from us concerning the CO, so we're happy to help support this in whatever way we can. Thank you. And I think that's all that I have. So let's move on to the ordinances, and we'll begin with ordinance 2335.
Excuse me, Deputy Mayor, we have the resolutions, R-23-401 through R-23-405.
Yes, I think we should vote on that. Yes, thank you. Roll call, please.
I need a motion?
We had a motion, a second, didn't we?
No.
They're separate.
Motion to approve R-23-401 up to and including R-23-405.
Second, please.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The resolution's passed.
I'm moving right along here. Thank you. All right, now let's move on to our ordinances. Ordinance 2335.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell supplementing Chapter 188, Article 10 zones, adding new Section 188-77.1 entitled Highway Development 1 South HD 1S Zone.
Thank you. One moment, please. Anyone from the public that wishes to address this ordinance, please come forward. Seeing none.
And just as a quick overview, this is an ordinance creating a new zone for Highway Development 1S. It's really referring to the south end of town, so it's from Lanes Mill Road south, all properties facing and fronting on Route 9. Right now, those are zoned HD1. We're rezoning to HD1S. Mostly matches the permitted uses, conditional uses of the HD1 zone with a few additions like banquet exposition facilities, but it matches offices, retail, restaurants, entertainment uses, indoor recreation, all things that are in the HD1.
Thank you. With that explanation, does anyone have a comment or a question on this particular ordinance? Seeing none, may I have a motion to close?
Motion to close public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion, please?
I
Motion.
could make a motion to adopt O23-35.
Second?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes,
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
thank you. Ordinance 2336.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell amending Chapter 188, Article 10 zoning, amending Section 188-65 entitled Enumeration of Districts.
Thank you. Is there any other information that administration would like to,
There's a list of all the zones in the town. This is simply updating the list to include the new zone you just created, which is HD1 South.
is there any commentary from the public on this particular ordinance? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, may I have a motion to close public?
Motion to close public.
Thank you.
Second?
All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve O2336.
Thank you.
Second?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes,
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
thank you. Ordinance 2337.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell changing the zoning of certain properties within the Township of Howell to zoning designation Highway Development 1S HD 1S zone.
Thank you. Any information from administration on
So
this?
we created the HD1S zone, we added it to the list. This is actually rezoning all of those parcels that front Route 9, south of Lanes Mill Road, into the HD1S zone.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the public on this particular ordinance? Seeing none, may I have a motion to close public?
Motion to close public.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve?
I move to adopt ordinance 2338.
37?
I'm sorry. Yes. Ordinance 2337.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Our next ordinance, ordinance 2338.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell changing the zoning of certain properties within the Township of Howell to zoning designation Special Economic Development 1 SED-1 zone.
Thank you. Any further information from Mr. Howard?
There's currently a zone, south central portion of town that has parcels on Oakland Road, County Route 547, Victory Road. It's currently zoned SED, Special Economic Development. This ordinance would change all of those lots to SED1.
Thank you. Is there any public comment or question on this particular ordinance? If so, please come forward. Hello. I'm good, thank you. Your name and address, if you don't mind?
My name is Betty Velez-Gimbel, 97 Victory Road.
Okay.
I would like to address the council regarding Victory Road.
Please.
And I'm speaking on behalf of Victory Road residents and myself. First off, our last meeting, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear that we know and understand the warehouse application is grandfathered and won't be affected by any zoning changes. We have been fighting this for over a year, so we are beyond the basics. Tonight, we're requesting the council vote no to ordinance 02338, which recommends the SED1, and yes to the ordinance that was proposed in the 02344, which recommends ARE6. This would be consistent with the rural character of Victory Road. Mr. Howard stated at the previous meeting that there is storage, maintenance, manufacturing, and concrete manufacturing on Victory Road. This statement is incorrect. The DeSanti Concrete Manufacturing has not produced concrete since approximately 2007. Now it is being used as a staging site for an electric company with 2 trailers and parked trucks. Also a steel rebar assembling, not a factory, not manufacturing steel at all. And recently, we've just seen a 3rd company utilizing it as a staging area for equipment, no manufacturing. The Atlantic Auto Body Shop is on the corner of 547 and Victory, also ARE6. Mr. Howard mentioned 2 other businesses on Victory Road. There's a vehicle wrapping business which is operating out of a residence on ARE 6. Not sure that that's supposed to be happening. The other is a young man who likes to tinker with cars, so this is not a business. Again, a Class 2 on an ARE 6. Because I'm a very visual person, I thought it was helpful for me to create the SED zone and color code. You can see that the green, the solid green, is farms. The purple is residential. This is Victory Road in black here. Just to give it. So Victory Road is in the black line there. The brown is the New Jersey natural gas plant. The orange is existing. The green with the striping is preserved township and county property, and the blue striping is the church. I did not continue on the opposite side of Oak Glen because there are farms and residential properties on the opposite side. So as you can see, and I can give this to you if you would like to see it closer, ARE 6 is the right fit for Victory Road.
You know, would you bring that up to the rail?
Absolutely.
All right. Diane, would you, oh.
I'm a visual person, so this helps me a lot.
Maybe we could just pass it around if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I was able to obtain the block and lots from the Monmouth County, and then also partner with the Howell Township tax maps.
So you drew this yourself?
Oh, no, that's, that's actually a blow-up of the Howell Township tax map.
I can see nice little colors.
Oh, that, yes, thank you. I'm sorry, it's the educator in me.
Thank you. Was there any other commentary that you wanted to make? Feel
Just,
free.
you know, again, as you can see, there's so much green and so much of the purple. And ARE 6 is the right fit for Victory Road.
That's an excellent visual aid. We thank you for that.
Of course, you're welcome. As I said, I needed it myself because some of the comments that were made, I just was like, no, this can't be, so.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sure you saw the ordinances that were going to be introduced at the previous meeting.
Yes.
So those are all going to be happening at our next meeting in January.
Right.
Just due to this, that it can't carry over from one year to the next.
Okay, I just
So
wasn't sure if it was
will-
like,
Those will still be introduced at the next meeting.
So an ordinance can be introduced, and it must be passed or rejected in the same calendar year, which would prohibit the ordinances being introduced tonight, but then we wouldn't be able to vote for them in a timely fashion. You know, if we did it at the next meeting, rather. So in January, we'll be readdressing, but
all right, so does this make that, like, from here until January, if you were to approve this temporarily SED1, or are we tossing this all together?
We will.
Well,
I'm not voting for you, I'm just, I would love to.
that vote will occur shortly.
Right, so
And,
there's not been a vote on this particular ordinance, so, and no pre-decision on it, so I think you should take the comments of the public.
Thank you.
And then you can deliberate afterwards. When there's a motion to approve, you can have your discussion on the
Thank you.
motion, and then take a vote, yes or no.
Right.
Great, thank you.
All right,
Do you have any
thank
other
you.
questions for me?
No, I think we're
All right,
clear.
perfect.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Was there anyone else that wanted to speak to this
Can we
particular
keep
ordinance? Okay. Thank you. Do I have a motion to close public?
Motion to close public.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to respond to a couple items. So,
Absolutely.
I apologize if there was any misunderstanding with my comments last meeting. I've never talked about the zoning change for just Victory Road. So when I listed a number of uses, I'm talking about all of the parcels in the SED1 zone, all of the parcels that are going to be impacted by this. And there are warehousing, there is a concrete manufacturing, there is other uses. So I think that list, if I wasn't clear last meeting, it's possible, but obviously my intention, talk about the entire zoning, not just Victory Road. Vehicle wrapping, I don't know of that, so if you'd like to talk to me after the meeting, give me an address, we could have code enforcement look at that. I encourage you to do so if you come up at a council meeting. Tell me about an illegal use, I really should look into it, so please just let me know. But those are the comments I have.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. May I have a motion on this ordinance?
Motion to vote on ordinance O2338.
Second?
Second? Thank you.
Is there discussion?
So it's not just the motion to vote. I think there should be a decision right now, if you're going to approve or deny. I would suggest a motion to approve the ordinance, and if you are not going to vote in favor of the ordinance, then you would be a no vote, and it has to pass by a majority of council. So if we get at least 2 no votes, then the ordinance cannot pass.
Understood.
So I would suggest recasting the motion as a motion to approve ordinance O23-38. We can have a second on the motion, and then we can open it up to council for discussion on the motion.
Very good.
Motion to approve O23-38.
May I have a second?
Okay. Now you can, there's discussion on the
Is there any
motion.
discussion on this particular ordinance?
I have none.
Are you prepared to vote? Okay. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Fisher? No. Councilman Gager?
No.
Councilman Nadell?
No.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
No.
Thank you. The ordinance is not adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2339.
An ordinance amending Chapter 188, Land Use, Article 1, Title, Purpose, Definitions, Section 4, entitled Definitions and Rules of General Applicability of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Howell.
Thank you. Is there any information from administration on this particular ordinance?
The ordinance updates 2 definitions. We take the banquet facility that's already in the ordinance. We add some language for an exhibition center, which includes business, corporate events, expositions, trade shows. There has been some attempts to open nightclubs with that type of use. We've expressly prohibited that. Also, flex space. We also just included language that includes trade contractor businesses. So there's some zones that don't permit that outright, but we want to make sure the flex use includes it, because that's really what it's intended for, that electrician, plumber, HVAC guy that needs a garage space and some office.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. I'd like to open this to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on ordinance 2339, please do so now.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey. I would like to ask for an explanation of this ordinance for what banquet facilities mean and who would be affected by it.
Okay, so the definition of a banquet facility is a building or portion thereof for rent for public, which has a principal intended use of holding meetings, receptions, parties, banquets, dinners, lunches, breakfasts, and other gatherings of people, whether food is prepared and sold on site for profit or not. That is the existing definition of banquet. The exhibition addition that we're proposing for this ordinance also states this use includes professional, business, corporate events, expositions, trade shows, and excludes concerts, nightclubs, pay-per-head, or door entry type events.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Which companies or parcels in Howell will be directly affected by this ordinance?
This is a definition. So any zone that includes this as a permitted use would then have it as a permitted use or conditional use. There is no specific parcel. There is no specific area that this is generally focused on with this ordinance.
So no individual parcel is going to be directly affected? This wasn't made for one individual parcel of land or
No.
businesses in Howell Township?
That would be spot zoning, and it is illegal. So no.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
By adding things to the definition and into the zoning, we're hoping to attract businesses to Howell. I mean, this is a use that we hear is potentially could take vacant properties or abandoned properties and put them into use.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Does anyone else wish to speak to ordinance 2339? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close public, please?
Motion to close public.
Second. All in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye. May I have a motion on the ordinance, please?
Motion to adopt ordinance 23-39.
Second. Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. Ordinance 2340.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell supplementing Chapter 188, Article 11, Conditional Uses, adding Section 188-98.11 entitled Flex Space.
Thank you. Is there any additional information administration would like to share?
This ordinance lists conditions for a flex space use. This use is permitted in some zones, but is a conditional use in others. When it is a conditional use, it would have, a proposed development would have to meet these conditions. That dictates board jurisdiction. If an applicant comes in and they can meet all the conditions that are listed in the ordinance, it would be treated as a permitted use and go to the planning board for site plan approval. If they cannot meet all the conditions, it would get a D3 use variance, would have to go for the zoning, to the zoning board, also to get site plan approval. So that those conditions are being listed in the ordinance.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there a motion on this ordinance? To either approve or reject?
Open for public?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I'd like to open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak? Ordinance 2340, please come forward. Thank you. May I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Now, is there a motion to adopt or reject ordinance 2340?
Motion to adopt O 2340.
Thank you.
Second. Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Thank you. Next ordinance is 2341.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell supplementing Chapter 188, Article 10 zones, supplementing and modifying Sections 188-79.1 SED1 zone and 188-79.2 SED2 zone to include flex space as a conditional use.
Thank you. I'd like to open to the public. Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 2341, please come up.
And I'll just add very quickly, this is adding flex space as a conditional use in the SED1 and SED2 zones.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'd like a motion to close public.
Motion to close public.
Second?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion?
Motion to adopt ordinance 2341.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Next, we have ordinance 23-42.
An ordinance of the Township of Howell updating Schedule 2 bulk and dimensional requirements for non-residential zones to include highway development 1 South HD-1S zone.
Thank you. Is there any additional information from administration?
So we created the HD1 South zone, we added it to the list, we put parcels into the zone. We also needed to give it bulk standards. By bulk standards, I mean the setbacks, impervious coverage limits, things like that. So we've added that to the table, the Schedule 2, and lists the bulk and dimensional standards for the HD1S zone.
Thank you. I'd like to open this ordinance to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to ordinance 2342, please come forward. Seeing none, may I have a motion to close to public?
Motion to close public.
Thank
Second?
you.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion on ordinance 2342, please?
Motion to adopt ordinance 23-42.
Second?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted.
Thank you very much. This evening, we have no introduction to ordinances as the end of the year is closing out. I would like to say that our next regular council meeting will be held on January 2nd, 2024 at 5 o'clock. It'll be our reorganization meeting. We hope everyone can attend.
Just one quick comment.
Yes.
You did mention there's no introductions, and we talked about it before. I just want to be clear. Those ordinances that were proposed to be introduced in November, they will be reintroduced, not at reorg. We don't do regular business, but the second meeting in January.
So that would be in January, obviously. Okay. Thank you. Council would like to wish everyone a a blessed and a safe holiday season. We thank you very much for taking your time out in December. We know it's a very busy time. If you had any comments that you wanted to speak to administration after the meeting, please feel free to do so. Again, be safe and enjoy the rest of the year. We will see you in January.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.